Hello everybody and welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the Lundy murders, which occurred on 29th of August 2000 in New Zealand in a place called Palmerston North. On this day, Christine Mary Lundy, age 38, and her 7-year-old daughter Amber Grace Lundy were murdered at their home. And law enforcement really believes that the husband Mark Lundy was responsible, but according to evidence of his phone, or the phone's location, he was actually at Petone at least at 5:30 and 8:28 p.m. that night, confirmed, because at 5:30-ish he called home to his wife and they had a little talk, during which they also talked about how they were going to go get some McDonald's, which was also found to be a purchase that Christine made shortly before the crime was committed. At around 8:30, he had a call with a business partner, I believe an incoming call. But according to the prosecution, they claim that Mark must have driven to Palmerston between 5:30 and 8:30, carried out all of the stuff that he supposedly did, and then drove back. The entire thing here about the prosecution's case is pretty interesting. It says here, the prosecution claimed that Lundy drove at breakneck speed from Wellington to Palmerston North, killed his family, and drove back to Wellington within 3 hours. They contended that he killed his wife for her life insurance money because of financial pressure and killed his daughter because she was a witness. 4 days before the murders, the Lundys reviewed their life insurance on the advice of their insurance broker. Christine's cover was going to be raised from $200,000 to $500,000. However, the policy documents had not been issued, so the increase was not valid at the time of Christine's death. The prosecution's case was also based on a speck of body tissue found on one of Lundy's polo shirts. The shirt was found along with other clothes and miscellaneous items on the back seat of his car. Although New Zealand pathologists could not identify it as Christine's brain tissue, a pathologist from Texas, Dr. Rodney Miller, claimed that he did. The prosecution argued that the only way this brain tissue could have gotten on the shirt was if Lundy himself was the murderer. Later reports and tests by other experts cast doubt upon the identification of material as brain tissue, and at Lundy's second trial, Miller later admitted that his laboratory was not accredited to do forensic work, so he wasn't quite in the right position to make this statement. No weapon was ever found, but paint found in the hair of victims matched the paint Lundy used to mark the tools in his tool shed. The prosecution called for more than 130 people to testify. The only person who actually claimed to have seen Lundy in Palmerston North at the time of the crime was Margaret Dance, a 60-year-old woman who said she had psychic powers and a photographic memory. She lived about 500 meters from the Lundy home and said she had seen a man wearing a blonde wig who appeared to be trying to look like a woman running on the street at about 7:15 p.m. She also said she saw 7 other people outside a takeaway shop in the area. Nobody else, including the 7 people she described, saw anyone running in the area that night. So it's interesting that with all of this kind of dubious evidence, he was convicted twice, because he was convicted the first time in 2002, and then he had it retried in 2015. He was convicted again, and he's still fighting for his innocence today, which, of course, if he is innocent, it's really terrible that not only do you lose your entire family, but the person who actually did it is still out there while you're in jail, supposedly being the one to have done it, which, of course, you wouldn't want to do to your own family. But that also leaves the question, if it wasn't Mark, then who was it? So there's lots of questions and not much answers, and that's why we're looking at this case with the tarot. We're going to start off with the Urban Tarot deck, which is currently on the table. And for any further questions, moving on to the Hush Tarot, which is this one. As per usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have about a table full of cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, we have a lot of cards to go through. We actually have 3 extra ones at the bottom, and the rest of them barely fit on the screen as it is. Let's take a look what we've got here. We're starting off with the Ten of Swords, which is called Ruin. Then we have the Nine of Cups in reverse, and a Prince of Discs, which is also the card that was on the top of the stack when I showed you the deck at the start. But the Ten of Swords over here is normally, like I usually say, darkest before the dawn. It is kind of like feeling really bad about a certain situation, kind of like feeling like there's no way out. And I say feeling, but I think it's more of a mindset, because of course the the swords are more of a mind and word type of suit, and so they are stuck in a mindset of there being no way out. There's just nothing there for them at the moment. There's no happiness over here. I feel like we're looking at the mindset of the perpetrator, and that is why we're looking at these kind of gloom and doom cards right here. Like I said, Ten of Swords, just stuck in a certain mindset of loss, just not being able to get through something. Happiness is not present. We have the Nine of Cups in reverse, but we do have here the Prince of Discs, which I believe is the Knight in this deck. So the Knight of Pentacles, being kind of practical about it. So we have somebody here who feels like they're not doing too great. They're actually stuck in this negative mindset, this cycle. They're also emotionally doing really badly because of the Nine of Cups being in reverse. But now they are looking at things like, okay, I'm just gonna go and take things very slow and steady, wins the race, kind of very carefully, because the Knight of Pentacles, somebody who's very methodical, plans things out, is very practical in a way. This is followed by the Hermit, and this Hermit in particular always draws my attention to the person themselves. Normally the Hermit is a card of somebody who is like reclusive, but not in a negative way, more like somebody who takes a moment to themselves to think about their situation, where they are in life, where they want to go, like in a reflection, that type of thing. But this type of person, even though they are very much secluded, looks like they're in some type of gutter situation, they also are lighting up, which I feel is almost like secluding from society because of an addiction or something that really puts you apart from everybody else. So I think that this person is not doing well. They may have some type of issues that they are addicted to. The next card that we have here is called Swiftness, which is the Eight of Wands in reverse, followed by the Ace of Cups, which I had to move back to the top of the row because of all the cards that we were getting. So in combination with these first 4, it kind of paints the picture of somebody whom is kind of like not quite in the middle of society, has issues, is trying to fix these in whatever practical way that they can. And then we have swift actions, which may not be well thought through, and just an opportunity or a new emotional connection or something is going on that like sparks an interest, or perhaps they are now coming to some type of new realization, maybe a new connection, a new type of group. I kind of feel like this may be telling the story of somebody who very quickly falls into the wrong type of crowd. So far, I don't think that we are describing the husband, because it seems kind of like somebody who is on their own. I don't feel like they were, if we're looking at as though this may be marked that this was him, because I don't think he was feeling super bad and super unhappy. Of course, they did have a lot of debts and they were trying to work on things. They were going to start a new vineyard business, wine business. So they strike me, him and Christine both strike me as people that want to succeed, but they just can't get out of their debt, that type of thing. But I don't think that that's necessarily something you would see here, and definitely not this practical person, although they were a businessman. This Hermit card that follows it up as well doesn't strike me as marked. So I think we're dealing with somebody else here, at least in this row, and they may have fallen into the wrong crowd, like I said. There is a star dropping here on the second row. I'm going to move these cards aside for a bit so we can look at them later, because they're currently a little bit in the way. I'll put them here for now. so we can keep them in mind. Anyway, so the star is falling. We have the Four of Pentacles in reverse and then the Ace of Swords. Okay, so that may be some words that were spoken a little too hastily. So they are kind of in this situation where they first of all fell in with the wrong type of people or had some type of idea or initiative that was not good, which we also see here with the Ace of Swords being in reverse. Whatever new thought they had did not turn out to be quite what they had in mind. The star is in reverse, so it's not quite shining a light on them. They may be trying to hide from the light as well, but there's also some mismanagement here. The Four of Pentacles in reverse. Normally Four of Pentacles shows somebody who is trying to balance things out, which you would think the day trader up here, right there, was trying to do with his new initiative on the rest of the top row, but it looks as though that initiative did not pan out. This kind of looks so far like somebody who made a bad decision and thought that it was going to lead somewhere good, but ultimately that was not the case. So I can see this being somebody who thought, why don't I go and just do some burglary, grab some money. You know, it's kind of, some people do think that it may have been a burglary gone wrong, but, you know, it kind of may be pointing at that. We're not done yet, of course, because we still have tons of cards left to go through, but it kind of seems to be steering in that direction. Next that we have here is the Page of Cups, so that is an emotional surprise over there. We have the Six of Pentacles, which is called success, but I never really find this a very successful card, to be honest. And then we have here the Death card to follow that up with. So we have a surprise here, an emotional surprise, something that they perhaps were not expecting, whoever this is. And then there is some charity here being given. And then we are not able to continue as we were before because of the Death card here. It literally is a heart being levitated out of a body by the looks of things. And like the heart's leaving a person, I kind of feel like this is the moment where perhaps this person, if there was indeed somebody who was trying to burglarize the house, ran into Christine. And I'm hoping that I'm saying her name correctly. I don't have her name right on screen right now, so I'm thinking that's Christine. Anyway, so if not, I'll put it on the screen somewhere. But they suddenly appeared when this person thought that perhaps there was nobody home, something like that. And they decided to then try and change their tactics so that they could maybe get some money out of it anyway. So they may have tried to ask them just to give them stuff like, okay, where's your money? Where's your jewelry? Where are your things? I'll get out of here in case you're able to supply me with these things. But then something happened that made that impossible. Like the Death card as well has a person on there who does not have a face. So I feel like even though there was this charity given, like this may have been a card where Christine pulls out all of the valuables that there are in her home and is basically telling him profusely that they have no money to give because they're in debt, but here's some watches, here's some golden chains, here's some rings, whatever it is that you may have had. But then this person seems to have come to a realization like, oh wait, they know what I look like now, because this person does not have a face on the Death card, and at the same time the heart is kind of dropping, leaving the body. Time stops, as you can see. The whatever was on the clock is now gone. Literally a bunch of spiders dropping to the floor. Also noticing here this container. This is one of those containers where donated organs tend to go if they need to be transported. So maybe they're like, okay, well, I just need to take what's yours and I need that, but I also don't need you to identify me because that would definitely ruin everything and all this would be for naught. So I kind of feel like this is the point of no return occurring to this person. Like, okay, there's just no way that I can get back from this. At least not without getting into some serious trouble myself. So they may have at that point decided that they weren't going to be able to leave them just like that. So then we have these three cards right here that came on the end. Maybe even four? No, there's three. Okay, so we have here Public Defender, Queen of Wands. So Queen of Wands is normally fairly willful, I would say. She knows what she wants, she knows how to get it, and she's gonna do it as much, or at least if she can. Could be that this person is being represented by the Queen of Wands and they're like, okay, I'm just going to do what I want. I'm going to grab what I want because that is what I want, and it may not have been a very good thing for them to do because it's in reverse. And then we have here Queen of Swords as well, also in reverse. And then we have the Seven of Cups called the Botch. All right, so we have two queens here, which is interesting. Could be like a combination between the person attacking and perhaps Christine herself. Maybe this painter is representing Christine. Queen of Swords is somebody who is very sharp-witted, and I think that it is a case of somebody who just wants to get what they want, encountering somebody who's trying to convince them otherwise with maybe using logic. And the logic eventually fails because we have here a card called the Botch, which is the Seven of Cups, which is like wishing for things. And I think the wishes of the Queen of Wands in this case outweigh the Queen of Swords. And perhaps this is also a bit of a combined card. Like on the one hand, the Queen of Wands wishes she could just get what she wants, and the Queen of Swords is wishing that her arguments would actually land with this other person. Both people may be wishing that situation were different, but it just isn't. And that's kind of like a situation where you cannot return from this point of no return, quite literally. That has occurred. So I think that whomever this was didn't feel like they had a way out. Which is not a strange choice for this person to make, because we already saw in the first four cards that they were in a really bad state. And in particular, we start off here with this Ten of Swords, which is already a card of doom and gloom. And that probably also carried into the rest of their actions, which led to where we are right now. Let's see what else we can find. Like, that seems to be the case. Let's see what we can find about Mark, because this may be Mark. I don't feel like it is. I don't know who it is, but let's see what we can find out about Mark during this time. Oh, a couple of cards right there. Mark is hiding from the world, and we have here the Queen of Swords. Alright, so they're also in a mindset of trying to reason their way out of things, maybe also rationalize things for themselves. The hiding from the world part is pretty interesting. Also, the Queen over here is not wearing much, which kind of reminds me of the thing that they were talking about, how he had hired a sex worker around 11:30 or something at night. And that is definitely a time when you're not out and about in the world and nobody can really see you. So it's a bit of a private thing that's happening over there. That's just something that came to mind, though. In any case, at this point, he is being very logical in his own way, but not wanting to share things with the world. Oh, there's the one on the floor. Hang on. One on the floor is the Lovers in reverse. Alright, so they're definitely not connecting. But we do have here the Five of Cups. Alright, so Five of Cups. You're not great or not happy with your situation, is crying over spilled milk, that type of thing. I still feel like this is the call that he made that late night, because we're looking at the Lovers in reverse. We have here the hiding from the world. We're not happy with our choices. We're not happy with our options. It's kind of like he was married. I do believe that the marriage was very much a business relationship after a while, and that is why he was actually prone to hiring ladies of the night, so to speak. I think Christine was aware of this. It's kind of like wishing things were different, but not really having much of a choice, I guess, or not able to see any other options. But okay, so he definitely did not want to share that with the world. Probably he felt a little bit of shame for that as well. Let's see what else we can find, though, because this is the evening. I don't think he was at that time aware of Christine not answering the phone anymore. Let's see what we have here. We have the Page of Wands and we have the Hierophant. So the Page of Wands does what it wants. Also noticing the automaton right there on autopilot. Like he may be the bull in this case, or this bull is representing the sex worker who is basically just a stand-in for somebody else. We have the Hierophant, which is normally like an authority of some sort. He may have felt some type of, I don't know, like a guilt or something, because the disc there on the card is broken. It's like the broken bond almost. Hierophant tends to also kind of represent marriage in a way, and of course the marriage is kind of broken because you're not really consummating it with your partner anymore. All right, that's the evening of, I think. Let's see about the rest of that. What happens next with him? Oh, there's one over here off the screen, and there's another over there, and two fell down here. All right, let's see. This is the Nine of Swords in reverse, anxiety. Then we have the Two of Wands as well, looking to travel, which is something he definitely did next morning. Oh, there's three cards down here. Let me just put these two down first. So we have anxiety, we have a wish to travel. Then we have the Magician, actually trying to make things work. We have the Knight of Wands, rushing ahead with our actions, and the Queen of Cups in reverse. So very aware of emotions, but also possibly negative emotions. The combination with the Knight of Wands may have led to some type of overly emotional decisions or thoughts, something along those lines. I'm curious about this Magician, though. This is somebody trying to make things work. This almost seems like willing something into being. This card itself is very interesting because you can see that this person has basically sacrificed his wolf, and then this spirit comes out of it, which looks much bigger and much stronger than the wolf itself was. So like freeing the spirit from this body, and it kind of seems like while they're trying to have things their way and get things done, it almost feels like trying to communicate with spirits, trying to will people to call you back. For instance, like sometimes you may have this experience that you're thinking of somebody, and then the phone rings, and then that's the person that you were thinking of. But I think this is almost like the opposite, like trying to somehow will a connection, which is kind of also in line with our Queen of Cups here being in reverse, because it's a very emotional thing, like spurred on by our emotional situation to try and connect with people who may not be physically there with you. And I think it's almost like a mood of trying anything that you can. And then this one, this is the Eight of Swords. So now we're stuck in a certain mindset, which is interesting. So I guess this is also the focus that we have at the end of this, like stuck in a mindset. We're in a very heightened emotional state down here. I think this is his trek home and then trying to figure out what happened, why his wife's not picking up the phone. So I think with both these different decks, we're looking at two different people. The first one was definitely the perpetrator with the Urban Tarot cards, and now we have, this is specifically me asking about Mark, and I think that the moods are very different. Like the first set of cards that we had a lot of practicality in it. There are a couple of things like, okay, there's a lot of trouble, but I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to get things done with the Knight of Pentacles. There are new initiatives and new things with the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Swords. And then there was the surprise and the realization that things could not continue the way they were. And then with Mark, we see a lot of feeling alienated. I would call this an alienated lineup right here. Just not really feeling very good about your options, not very good about your situation. And then we have the mad dash, or wanting to be somewhere else, wanting to connect, and feeling stuck in another type of mindset, and very much in their emotions and trying to get things done here with this Magician right here. And of course, this Knight of Wands also wanting to get things done. Maybe you're seeing something else, but I find those to be very different energies. Now, let's see, because of course he has been convicted twice, and we don't know anybody else who may be on the suspect list. At least I don't. Are we ever going to find the truth? Is the truth ever going to come out? Let's see what we can find here. We have the Seven of Wands, which is kind of on the side, but also kind of reversed because it's leaning more towards this direction. Seven of Wands is coming for the position. I feel like this is saying that we're going to keep seeing Mark challenging the convictions, maybe winning, I don't know, but at least he's trying to challenge it continuously, which is in line with what he's doing. He's maintaining his innocence and trying to appeal to all sorts of higher courts to try and get it overturned, or at least looked at again. Okay, that one's on the floor, hang on. This is the Nine of Swords. Okay, we have another Nine of Swords. We had that one earlier as well. We started off with that over here, so we're still very much anxious. That same feeling has not let us go yet, so they're still tortured by this every day. This one. Then we have here a Knight of Wands called the Journalist. So maybe this will get picked up by somebody who may be able to get a little bit more attention for this case. And the whole attitude of this person with the stars in the background kind of points towards perhaps this being international. That is, I don't know what New Zealand news is like, but I imagine that, of course, there in New Zealand, this has been on the news repeatedly, but this seems like a fresh perspective from somebody, perhaps coming up from abroad, possibly. An outside perspective, and somebody with a lot of energy, because it is, of course, a Wands card. It's called the Prince of Wands in this deck, but that is the Knight of Wands. So Knight of Wands is very quick to act. Well, you see the Knight of Wands right down here. This is basically them. They charge off and want action. So they may be able to stir things up a little bit. Oop. That one almost fell off the table. It's the Empress, and again, just like with the Seven of Wands, it's kind of in reverse, kind of on its side. So maybe somebody who is feeling some type of motherly feelings, or at least some type of protective person, somebody whom he can rely on, maybe stepping in to try and help. Doesn't even have to be a female. It's more like somebody who feels like their plight is worthy to help them with. They might want to come to their aid. We have here a Knight of Swords, which is a King of Swords in this deck, and this one's called the Game Master. So maybe this person or these persons are people that are really good, really sharp-witted. And I feel like this person may be taking another look at the evidence against him and able to pick out flaws that previously the defense had not picked up on, and perhaps is able to crack the case open that way somehow. So far, these cards are definitely leaning towards there being some type of support coming from Mark. Perhaps in different ways because of the Prince of Wands and the Empress and the Knight of Swords. Feeling kind of like they may be different people. It may also be a chain reaction, like we have this person putting it on the news, and then this person is like, oh, I need to help this person because it doesn't look like justice was done here, and they may know somebody, and that might be this person, or maybe they themselves put something out there, and then this person sees it and goes, hey, I think I can blow this case right open, that type of thing. Like, these might be three completely different people that are just activated because this person finally decides to pick it up and put it out there. We have the Three of Wands. It's called Virtue, so this may become one of those cases that people just pick up out of the goodness of their hearts. Maybe it will be getting a lot more attention internationally. I feel like this is almost like the internet coming together. Like, you know, sometimes there's cases that people pick up on and they go on Reddit and they literally dig into it. Maybe that this person is a YouTuber. I'm just like giving some examples here, and they make a video, and then somebody who watches a lot of YouTube sees it and they're like, oh wow, this is so important that we need to do something with this, and this person perhaps takes it to a Reddit thread, and then in the Reddit thread you have this guy who really likes to crack cases like this and goes, oh, this is something I can work with, and then we have this whole trinity of people coming together, possibly from all over the world, and trying to accomplish something good, trying to overturn what they consider to be a wrongful conviction, something like that. That's kind of the energy that I'm getting, particularly out of these last 4 cards. The Three of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so maybe they're not quite working together. It may be that it's an effort that is spread out across the internet, across the globe. So there might be small pockets of people working on things. You can kind of see the pentacles being on each corner of the building as well. And there's definitely a lot of work going on. Like they're working on the same thing, but they're not working on it together, that type of thing. Which doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, but it's decentralized, so they might eventually come together. It can also symbolize people just redoubling their efforts to make sure that there is no overturning of the case. Because both threes are right next to each other, so you could also see it like one fighting the other. One of them is trying to be more practical, and the other is a little bit more fiery, because of course the wands are all about fire and energy. So they're very energetically trying to sort this out, while the other side is trying to be practical. And also kind of like forming a bit of an establishment look as well with this building, this high-rise office building. Which could also symbolize different offices not working together quite well. What's the eventual outcome going to be of all this? These two, all right. We have strength, all right, so it may be giving him some more strength throughout this. And then we have here the Prince of Cups, which is the Knight of Cups in reverse, called the Filmmaker. Knight of Cups is normally focused on their own emotions, but it could be that in this case, particularly with the combination of strength, that they're trying to set that aside. And this kind of looks a little bit like if Mark were to notice that there's all these people out there trying to contact him to try and get him released from jail, that he might say something like, oh, I appreciate that you're trying to do this. The main thing is, though, that we figure out who killed my wife and child, because that's more important than me sitting in jail, that type of thing. Like, obviously he'll want to be released, but he also needs to find out who actually did do that terrible deed. And are we going to ever figure this out? Because we haven't actually seen much of that yet. Like, is a case going to be solved at some points? Three of Swords, Sorrow. That's not a very good card to pull for that type of question. It's also going down the drain, as you can see. Almost seems like these efforts, though valiant, may eventually be for naught. What is this card right here? Again, a sword card. We have the Four of Swords, a true. So this combination of cards following my question, if we're ever going to see who actually did it and learn the truth, seems to me like I said, efforts may not be what they ultimately wanted to achieve, but the truce card right next to it, the Four of Swords, maybe that at least we do see an overturning of the case, or at least making it inconclusive. Like there may be a conclusion at some point saying, well, all this evidence over here doesn't really point one way or the other, so you can't have somebody sitting in jail because there's no convincing evidence that they actually were the person to carry out this deed. So we might see them being released, but we might not see an actual answer to who actually did do those horrible things to Christine and Amber. So a kind of doubtful potential happy end, but not quite. That was quite the roller coaster. In any case, that is what I'm seeing for the Lundy case. I hope you found that interesting at least. Make sure to leave a comment and a like. That really helps the channel along. If you'd like to subscribe, that'd be even better. There is a link in the description that leads to a Google form, which is anonymous, where you can leave your cases. If you want me to do a reading on a particular case, make sure to drop it there. I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.